We keep spending most our lives living in a gangster's paradise. Keep spending most our lives. Oh, hello. Sorry, I didn't see you there. Excuse me. This is Marcus Stewart, and welcome to Marcus Talks About Games, episode 15. And you caught me in the middle of a little jam session here, just banging out some Coolio, Gangsta's Paradise, his second most well-known song. Of course, we all know his most well-known song is the Keenan and Kel theme song. I mean, that's pretty obvious. And yeah, as you might imagine, the reason I have that song on my mind right now is that I have watched the Sonic the Hedgehog movie trailer, in which this song features heavily in, and I've watched it twice because you just have to watch something like that a second time just to confirm that what you are seeing is indeed real. And wow, what a thing that was. So if you haven't seen it, it just came out Tuesday. And also, I wasn't really planning to start the show with this, but after watching, I was like, oh god, I need to talk about this to someone. All of you listening. That's why I'm sharing this my first reactions to this. And yeah, in case you're not aware, there is a live action Sonic the Hedgehog movie releasing this November. If I remember correctly, I believe it's November 10th, which is the day after my birthday. So I guess I know what I'm doing my birthday. And it's the live action with a CG Sonic the Hedgehog. Sonic, played by Ben Schwartz, who I believe is from either Community or Parks and Recs. I think it's one of those two. I don't watch either show, so I'm not really familiar with Mr. Schwartz, but he is playing Sonic. It's also starring James Marsden, aka Cyclops of the X-Men films, or at least the old X-Men films, as well as the sexy cowboy in Westworld. And, of course, Jim Carrey, The Mask, Ace Ventura, whatever his name was in Eternal Sunshine, playing Dr. Robotnik, or Dr. Eggman. Actually, I'm not sure which one he's playing, actually. I don't know what he's being called in this film. They never call him by name in the trailer, so I would imagine it's Dr. Eggman, because that's like his official name, but he's really skinny, and he's not egg-shaped at all, which is where the name references, is the shape of Eggman's body. So, do they still call him Eggman, even though he's more like String Bean Man? Or do they just go with Robotnik, even though that wouldn't really play outside of, I guess it really wouldn't play at all. I mean, I would say it would only play in the West, but he's been Eggman so long in the West that there's a whole generation of Sonic fans that have only known him as Dr. Eggman. So I wonder. I have to check IMDb or something to see what he's going by. But yeah, this movie's been a long time coming in terms of its official reveal. I think the first announcement that this was happening was, I want to say, last year, and then like months later there was that leaked kind of press material that kind of gave us our first look at Sonic. Of course, I think before that was the movie poster reveal with the infamous legs, those blue, hairy humanoid calves that people were very disturbed by. And then there was the leak with the press materials that showed Sonic in full. Of course, we were wondering back then if, like, okay, is that actually what he's going to look like, or is that concept? But looking at the trailer, that's exactly what he looks like, which isn't entirely surprising. And yeah, if you haven't seen it, first, stop listening to me. Go watch it. Just do that now. Go ahead. I'll wait. We're spending most our lives living in a gangster's paradise. Okay, you've seen it? Okay, cool. All right. What the hell is that? It's pretty crazy, right? Wow, what a weird thing. Okay, so the first thing I want to unpack here is that song choice, Gangsta's Paradise. What? Why? Why that song of any song? That's such a weird choice. It doesn't fit the trailer at all. To me, at least, it doesn't really fit what the tone of the movie that it seems to be going for. Like I'm real. That's maybe the most baffling thing about the movie is the trailer music, which is weird because maybe that song isn't even in the movie. I don't know. I would imagine it would if you went to the trouble of getting the rights to the song, you may as well include it in the official soundtrack. Yeah, just, I can only imagine the reasoning would be because it's, I don't want to say edgy, because it's not edgy. I mean, I guess it sort of is, but like in a weird way. Like, I guess it's edgy in the sense of like, you would never see this coming. Coolio, Gangsta's Paradise. This really really, actually, if you're familiar with the song, kind of a sad song, kind of melancholy. It's not like an upbeat song, really. It's about gangsters and the how rough the gangsta life is, or to be really general. So yeah, is Sonic living in a gangster's paradise? Is Sonic himself a gangster? I guess he would view himself as a gangster because he thinks that he's really cool. So maybe, yeah, maybe he thinks that he's in a gangster's paradise because in his own mind. But yeah, like just throughout the trailer, I was waiting for the song to change up. Like I was like, okay, maybe they're just starting with this song and then it'll switch to like, I don't know, like a rock song or something like that. But nope, they really committed to that, to Gangsta's Paradise. So that was weird and just kind of off-putting. Even after watching it again, I was like, no, just nah, man. Everything else, so Sonic himself. Now that we've finally got the full reveal of CG Sonic, he looks weird. He just looks weird. I braced myself for what he would look like after all the leaks and stuff like that, and it just, I don't like it. And it's not, it has more to do with the proportions of Sonic. I realize, like him having humanoid proportions, but still having some video game Sonic-y proportions, like mixed together. It's not a great blend, because he's still got like the, I guess the head and the quills are kind of the same, but then he just has like human calves and legs and arms, and his fur he doesn't even wear gloves. He's got like he just has white hands, like his fur is just white around the hands, I guess to represent where the gloves would be, which I don't like it, but I get it, I guess. Like, I guess gloves would be too cartoony, which in itself is weird to say in a movie about a talking CG hedgehog that runs faster than the speed of sound against a really, really cartoony villain and Jim Carrey, so I don't know why you would draw the line at gloves, but whatever. Yeah, it's weird, kind of like, because this movie is coming out after Detective Pikachu. And there's similar things in terms of like taking a video game character, animal-ish characters, and making them realistic. And Pokemon has done so far like a really good job of translating those monsters into like CG realistic style, I guess. Like all the Pokemon that they've shown, I'm like, yeah, that not only looks like the Pokemon, but it also is like, yeah, I guess I would imagine that's what it would look like if it was in real life. Like, oh yeah, like Charizard looks like Charizard, but he's scaly. But yeah, that makes sense because he's a dragon. So yeah, and everyone else, like, they've somehow managed to marry those two elements rather beautifully. Where Sonic just kind of, I don't know, like, I've never imagined what real life Sonic would look like, but it definitely wasn't that. So yeah, like just looking at Sonic, I don't know, maybe I'll get used to it during the film, but it's, he's such a weird looking character that, I mean, weird in that he has such a stylized look that I almost wish they just leaned into that more and just almost done like an exact copy of Sonic, like just literally just comic book video game Sonic in just the real world instead of trying to make him look realistic, because again, the movie's already goofy and over the top. You may as well just take the existing Sonic model and just pretty much just do that, just stick him in there with real people. Why not? Instead of this kind of weird translation. So yeah, now that I've seen Sonic in full, like I was already not a fan of the leaked stuff, and now I'm like, yeah, not feeling it. Tonally, I mean, it seemed the tone is about what I would expect, kind of comedic, kind of irreverent, I guess. It seems like Sonic isn't from Earth, like, it kind of opens with him coming out of his, like, hidey hole and meeting James Marsden, who plays, like, this cop, and through some circumstance, they wind up having to work together because the world is in danger, and Sonic's phrasing in the trailer is that I guess I have to rescue your planet, which suggests that he is just not from here. So I wonder like how that happens. Like, does he come through a portal? Because there's a point in the trailer that I didn't notice until I watched it again, where towards the end they show like a really quick scene of like these two human kids with like teenagers or whatever falling from like a skyscraper, and then Sonic throws a ring that turns into like a portal, like a Doctor Strange portal basically, and they fall through it, and on the other side of the portal you can see like a neighborhood. So I'm like, is that how we came to our world? And also, are the rings portals now? I mean, I guess in Sonic the Hedgehog 1, they were portals because that's what you would jump through to get to the special zone to get the Chaos Emeralds. So are we to believe that maybe those kids, maybe it's not a neighborhood on the other side, those kids fall through and suddenly they're bouncing around on like bounce pads and this constantly rotating stage trying to hit the gems until they're all turning different colors and disappear so that you can reach the Chaos Emerald? Is anyone else a fan of that minigame? I'm partial to the Sonic 2 Chaos Emerald minigame myself, but I digress. So yeah, I want to know how he gets here. Do we get to see where he's originally from? Like, do we get to see Green Hill Zone? Wasn't there a street sign that said Green Hill actually in the human world? I thought I heard that. I don't know if I noticed it or remember seeing it, but yeah, the trailer was kind of dumb. Like, it didn't like make me laugh all that much. Like, the only parts I thought were kind of funny were the end scene and the I don't know if it was an elevator, but like James Marsden's carrying Sonic in the bag, and then Sonic's talking to him because he's upset that he's in the bag, and people around him are asking if there's a child in the bag, and Marsden, like an idiot, says like, "Oh yeah, it's a child. I mean, it's not my child though," and naturally everyone's really disturbed by that. Like, that was I thought that was kind of cute. It would have been funnier if Sonic hadn't spoken again after that. That's just me being a critique. And I think it's the Jim Carrey thing in the beginning when he's talking to the general and just being like, he basically treats him like The Rock, even kind of gives him the "what's your name? It doesn't matter what your name is" treatment. Jim Carrey seems like he's playing Jim Carrey, which is kind of my I don't know if I call it a fear, but the thing I kind of expected when they announced him as Robotnik, because I love Jim Carrey. I grew up with Jim Carrey, but my God, is Jim Carrey in pretty much a majority of his films, in that he kind of just is the same character. Like, he just, like The Mask and Ace Ventura aren't that different from each other. Bruce Almighty, kind of the same, a little bit more grounded, but still kind of the same guy. Like, if you watch enough Jim Carrey films, you kind of know what you're getting a majority of the time. And yeah, like, I was like, oh yeah, he's turning it up, the Jim Carrey, to about 11 here in this film, it seems like. Yeah, just overall thoughts. I'm gonna see it. Like, there's no way I'm not gonna see this, because I just the morbid curiosity. I need to know. Maybe it'll surprise. Maybe it'll be good. Maybe it'll be like, I don't know, the Lego movie, right? I remember when the Lego movie was coming out, I didn't think that would be great, mainly because I just didn't see how you could make a substantial, hour and a half, 2 hour film on something like Legos, and then they turned nothing into something. Sonic has a substantial amount of lore in comparison that they could pull from, so they don't really have that excuse of content, but just Sonic's so weird looking. It's just gonna bother me, the film. It's like, he's so weird. But if it's bad, then it's bad, which isn't gonna surprise very many people. I haven't personally seen anyone that actually expects this movie to be amazing. Everyone's just kind of saying, like, either this is gonna be a train wreck, or it's gonna be an entertaining train wreck, but still a train wreck. Who knows? We'll find out, I guess, November. Just the last thing. Can we get Sonic some socks? Like, he's just wearing the red shoes and he doesn't have socks and it just looks weird, and just, you should be wearing socks anyway if you're running, because, you could get blisters and just better for your feet. God, Sonic is so weird looking. So weird.
Oh, is that all you got?
No, but thank you for asking.
Okay, on to the real meat and potatoes of this podcast, the thing I originally wanted to talk about, and that is Mortal Kombat! That's right. Mortal Kombat 11. It is out. It has begun, as Shang Tsung once said famously. For the 11th time, it has begun. Game launched last Tuesday or whatever it was. I picked it up day one. I bought the fancy $100 edition, which I very rarely do for any game, but because Mortal Kombat's my favorite fighting game series and one of my favorite it's probably in my top 5 just favorite gaming franchises. Like, I knew I wasn't kidding myself. Like, I know I'm gonna buy all those characters anyway, so I may as well just nip it in the bud now, so that later on I don't have to worry about it. I did the same thing with Smash Brothers, and now I have Joker, so it just kind of works out in the end. So yeah, I got that. I got Shao Kahn and whatever else came with that deal, and I have been playing a lot of it. I have finished the story mode. I've done some of the tutorials. I've played some online matches. I've done a few of the arcade towers and some of the living towers. I've been jumping around. I made a few custom characters and stuff. You know, I've been dipping my toe. I've been going through the crypt. And overall, so far, thumbs up. I'm enjoying it quite a bit. It's not without its issues, but overall, I'm having a hell of a time with it. So let's start with the story, since that was the first thing that I did. My God, what an entertaining story that thing is. Wow. It was it's really something else. So, as if you followed the trailers or any of the coverage, the general premise of the game is that Raiden, after the events of MKX, is bad now because he got Shinnok's amulet, and after decapitating Shinnok, which does not kill him because he's immortal, but it's a face worse than death. This kind of final act, I guess, kind of draws the attention of Kronika, who is like the goddess of time, basically, like the living embodiment of time itself. And she is PO'd at Raiden because since MK9, he has been fiddling with the timeline, and everything is all messed up now, so she's like, enough's enough. I'm gonna just undo everything and redo it and just erase Raiden from history since he keeps mucking everything up. So to do this, she needs to enlist Liu Kang and Kitana, who are now evil. They've turned into revenants after being under Quan Chi's control, and now those two rule the Netherrealm as king and queen. She gets them, and she uses time to kind of bring back old versions of characters. So she brings back Shao Kahn, this back in like MK2. So Shao Kahn's back in the picture, as well as all the like MK2 era versions of all the major characters. So you got young Sonya Blade, Johnny Cage, Liu Kang, Scorpion, just the whole gang's here. And it's the good guys trying to stop Kronika from undoing history. And Kronika, again, the goddess of time, the living embodiment of just everything that involves time. And she can't just do the thing that she wants to do. She has to get like time juice, basically, and she needs the bad guys to help her hold off the good guys until she can get like her time juice to do her crazy plan. It's really dumb, but in the best way. It's an entertaining story. Like, just the interactions between the old characters and the or like the older versions of characters and the new versions is a lot of fun to watch. Particularly my favorite is older Johnny Cage having to face the younger douchebag version of himself and kind of having to finally confront face to face just how awful of a person he used to be. And it kind of shows how far Johnny Cage has come as an adult. Like, you're like, man, like Johnny Cage, man, you grew up big time here. And like little like interactions like that are really well done. They're just a lot of fun to watch. I like that the emphasis of the campaign overall is kind of all over the place. Like, it's kind of an ensemble cast. Like, no one's really the protagonist or like at the focal point for too long. Like, you know, Raiden, it seems like it would be mostly about him, but he's kind of off to the side for a bit. And then, you know, Liu Kang and them get spotlight. Like, it's much like MK9 where everyone kind of shares the spotlight, as opposed to MKX where it's just about the Kombat kids, who only two of them return here. It's just Cassie and Jackie. Takeda and what was the bow guy? His name? I don't remember. Bow Guy and Takeda, they're not here, which they were fine characters, I guess. I mean, they were fun to play as, but I can take or leave them. Same kind of goes for Jackie, but I get why you would keep her around because she's the daughter of Jax, who's a big character, who Jax also has a really cool role in this story, kind of, and I'm not going to spoil anything, just as a heads up. I'm going to be as vague as I can, but I promise not to spoil anything specifics. But the way they kind of treat Jax, older Jax, I should say, like the way he kind of has come to terms with everything that has ever happened in Mortal Kombat, just a lot of the messed up things that happens, like, has clearly worn on him, and they have a subplot with how he's dealing with that I actually think is really good. And it actually is one of the darker and more serious plot lines in this campaign. This campaign does a great job of juggling really goofy, like, funny moments with the serious world-saving stuff in a way that it probably really shouldn't have. Like, this should have probably been a mess on paper, just tonally, but there's something about how MK does it. It almost reminds me a bit of the Marvel movies, where those movies can somehow be super duper serious, or at least on paper have like a serious plot line, and then still sprinkle it with so many just light moments that don't feel like they take away from the heavier moments. Even something like Endgame, Avengers Endgame, I think is a good example, and Infinity War at that. I'm not gonna spoil Endgame, by the way. You probably don't expect me to talk about Endgame because it's not a video game, but I know some of you are really paranoid about Endgame spoilers, and I feel you because I've already seen the movie. I saw it opening night. I'm seeing it again soon. But people have been very brazen about spoilers, so I'll just go out of my way and say that this will be the last time I bring up Endgame. So there you go. So yeah, great juggling of tones with this campaign. Structurally, it's not much different than the Another Realm game campaign. They put you in the shoes of different characters. Every character or characters get their own chapter, and you play, a few fights as them, and then you move on to the next person. Nothing's changed there, which is, I guess fine. Like, as long as the story being as good as it is kind of makes up for maybe the overall structure just being the same. Because this would be the fourth game that they've done this. Yeah, fourth game. Yeah, wait, no, maybe fifth. MK9, 10, this, and then 2 Injustice. Yeah, I guess the fifth game. Wow, they've been doing this campaign for 5 games now. That's kind of crazy. I don't know if it's starting to get old. It's just kind of like, this is the NetherRealm thing. So I personally, it hasn't gotten tired yet, and I think it's because the stories overall for even the Injustice games have been entertaining. But at the same time, maybe for, I guess, Injustice 3 would be the next game if they keep their kind of rotating cycle of MK Injustice. Maybe mix it up a little bit. I mean, don't mix it up too much, because, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But NetherRealm's a studio that's not afraid to reinvent the wheel if need be. So I would like the next game to maybe have a little bit more substantial design changes for its campaign. But again, for the 5th time out, this is really well done. Now, the actual fighting feels good. It feels really good. It's got a tightness to it that I'm liking, and it took a little bit to get used to because I think it's tighter. It kind of reminds me of MKX's kind of tightness. Like, I remember when first starting MKX, it felt a little bit stiff because MK9 feels, by comparison, and I haven't played MK9 in a long time, so this isn't a fresh memories, but by comparison, MK9 felt a little bit more arcadey and quicker, whereas X felt, I don't want to say stiff because stiff sounds like bad, but it just felt a little more deliberate, like the movement and the combos. And 11 kind of retains that, though I think it feels at the same time maybe a little bit looser than 10. So maybe like somewhere in the middle of 9 and 10, but it feels really good. And one thing I'm loving is those new bars that they've introduced, like the different meters. Like, there's 4 meters now, 2 for defense, 2 for attack, and you use them to kind of augment your attacks or defense moves. So you can kind of spend a meter to enhance an attack, which has been done in previous games. Like, hey, Scorpion Spear, if you augment it, he'll freeze the opponent. Because Scorpion Spear, which took me a while to get used to, and I thought it was messing up, his regular spear doesn't get a free hit anymore. It just immediately follows up into an attack. And it's only the super spear, when you use a meter, that the opponent kind of sits still and you can do something. Which, interesting choice. I don't even know if I totally like it. I'm kind of getting used to it because Scorpion's my main. I love Scorpion. He's always been my favorite character. So I've been playing with him a lot and I've gotten used to it. But yeah, I was like, whoa, what's this? Like, why is he attacking? I just want to uppercut him. But I think the meters are a cool idea. Like, the different ways you can spend them to break combos and cancel out like falling. Like, if you get knocked back, you can just fall flat instead of getting sent across the screen. And like juggling when to use them and knowing how much each mechanic, how much of a bar it spins. And I like that. I've been going through the tutorials, which I normally never ever mess with tutorials in fighting games. I'm kind of just like to get in there and figure it out just in combat. Usually because I just don't have patience for tutorials. Like, generally they're really slow and I just want to get in there and fight. But MK11 has done a great job with how comprehensive its tutorial is, where it breaks down things at like a pro level. It feels like you have, it breaks it down for beginners, but then it gets into like the really nitty gritty pro tactics, and breaks it down in a way where I'm not a pro player at all. I don't play to the degree of like an Evo person of like reading frames or knowing like, oh, this move leaves you vulnerable for like a split second and you'll get hit or something like that. Like I don't study moves like that, but this game does it for you. So I'm looking at things I've never really looked at before, and I think it's done a really good job of bringing up maybe a more casual player like me. I'm like, oh, okay, I get this. Yeah, like if I put this combo here with Scorpion, then I have less chance of facing retaliation from the opponent or something like that. And the tutorials are really brief, but they also get the point across really well. So it's like a great combination of just getting in and out, and also they tie rewards to them, which is another incentive to just do all the tutorials, because you get Shao Kahn's announcer voice if you do everything, and you get coins for just completing them individually. So that'll get me to do it just for the rewards. But well done there. Speaking of rewards, and this is kind of the darker side of this game, and a lot of people have been complaining about, is there are a lot of currencies. There are currencies all over the place. I've lost count. So there's coins, which have always been around, and then there's time shards, which are the only currencies that you can get for real money. Like the game gives them to you for doing things, but they're the only currencies that you can just buy with real money if you want to. And those are used for the online shop to buy like the daily skins and stuff, that whatever's available. It's like a rotating store of cosmetics that you can buy, not unlike Apex Legends, for example. And then there's hearts, which you can only get for doing fatalities. And those are used in the crypt to open these special chests that have some really good stuff. The only problem with hearts is that they take a while to get, because I think you get like, and I have to keep in mind, because they've patched this, because people have been complaining about how the rewards have been doling out, and I think NetherRealm is like currently in the process of kind of rebalancing some of that stuff. So like when I started, you got like 1 heart for doing a fatality, and since chests, or at least the heart chests, you need at least 250 to open them. That means it's gonna take a long time to open 1 chest, and the crypt is full of those heart chests. And I think now, I checked today, they updated it a bit, where I got 2 or 3 for doing a fatality. So I'm assuming that's one thing they changed. It still feels not like enough. I personally, maybe like 5 for a fatality. Why not? But there's those. There's also like soul orb things, like these green currencies that I don't even really know how you get them outside of the like I've gotten them in the crypt for opening chests. Like sometimes they'll just have them there, but I think you just get them in normal play. Like I think they just get doled out alongside the coins. Like, hey, you got a few soul things here too with these 1,000 coins. And yeah, the not fun part about playing MK11 in the beginning was figuring out what the hell everything was and how they worked and how I got any of thing. And it's confusing. It feels needlessly confusing. I mean, I only recently now gotten a grasp on it after hours of playing it, which is a problem, and one that, again, people have been coming to NetherRealm with their torches and pitchforks saying like, hey, what's with all these currencies here? I don't know if that's something that can be fixed or patched out, maybe. Like just maybe reduced. Like do we need hearts and souls? I mean, doesn't feel like it. At the same time, I get that they add longevity to the game, especially to the crypt, which the crypt in this game, I'm loving it so far. I've always been a huge fan of the crypt, every iteration of it since, when was the first crypt? Deadly Alliance was the first time they did the crypt, right? Either that or Deception. It was one of the PS2 era games. I think it was Deadly Alliance, but I've always thought that was such a cool way to handle unlockables, and it's only gotten cooler with each game, like with the like the last game and MK9 too. I think MK9 was the first one to do this, where it became like a almost like an adventure game, where it's like first person and you're going, instead of just kind of like going through a menu and just picking gravestones like in the PS2 games, now you're actually navigating a 3D space and you're walking up to the graves, and they even have like puzzles that you can solve. Like it was cool, and they built upon that with X. And then with 11, now it's a third person game where you're playing as this unnamed guy, and you're going through Shang Tsung's island, and you meet Shang Tsung himself, who, by the way, is voiced by the actor that played Shang Tsung in the Mortal Kombat movie, which is still the greatest video game movie of all time. I will not hear any debate against it. It's the only video game movie that is good, or at least video game adaptation, because I guess Wreck-It Ralph would technically count as a video game movie, and I like Wreck-It Ralph, but video game adaptation is the only one that is still super good. So Shang Tsung shows up, and he's like, hey, welcome to my island, go poke around, try not to die. And yeah, he's kind of like narrating things, he talks to you, he'll say some things if you find like a point of interest. And it's cool because you're going through the ruined island from the first game, and you're seeing all these famous areas that were stages in like Mortal Kombat 1 and 2. Like you're going to the pit. You can even see like Hornbuckle and whatever the other guy named that is like fighting in the background, like the flamey guy and whatever. You see the big moon that Santa would fly over. Everything looks gorgeous because it's a beautiful looking game in general, just graphically. Yeah, you're going up the chest, you're opening them, it's a lot more involved. You're solving legit puzzles. Like I've solved a lot of them so far. Like there was like a tile matching puzzle. There's like a trap thing where you're trying to dodge like spinning blades and trying Indiana Jones your way through an area. The locations are really varied. Like I've found a bunch of different areas and I've unlocked a bunch of things. It's a cool crypt. I like it. The only thing holding it back is the currency issue. Like there's so many different currencies, so like it's like, oh, I'm opening these chests, but then you see all the heart things, and like every time I find a heart thing, it's just so like, oh my god, this is gonna take forever to open. Which I guess I kind of get that they want the game to last, because before, at least like in the older crypts, you could probably open all of them in like the first week if you were really dedicated. Here, unless you're just playing nonstop and are just like not a human, there's no way somebody's gonna get the whole crypt open within the first week. I don't know if somebody's done it, but I just, because just the heart things are so high and you get so little that there's no way someone has opened all those crypts by now. So yeah, that's kind of a bummer. The other bummer is that so you get like in MKX, you get items tied to the characters that you use to traverse. Like you get Scorpion Spear, which you can use to pull things down. You get Kenshi's Blindfold, which can be used to see like hidden areas, like maybe a wall that can break that you can't see with your normal sight, like adventure game kind of mechanics. And the very first thing you get in the very beginning is Shao Kahn's hammer, which you use to smash pots for like maybe a few coins here and there, and you can also use it to attack enemies. Like there's actually enemies in some of the areas. Like they really went all out with this. But the actual act of swinging that hammer, I wish was better, because it feels like you gotta be like kissing the thing that you're trying to swing for it to hit. Like the actual like reach that it has is painfully limited. Like I've thought we're right in front of something and I'd be swinging it and then I miss, and then it's like a hassle because you got to move up a little bit more and then swing again, and the swing animation is maybe a little slow, which for how touchy it is kind of annoying. And yeah, I just wish that the thing had just more reach, like just more of a wider arc, so I don't have to like come up and just get intimate with the pot that I'm trying to smash before I can smash it. Because that hammer is by far the item that you use the most in the crypt. But overall, I'm loving it. I've unlocked a lot of things, mainly because NetherRealm gave a lot of players, or like all players that I guess picked it up in the first week, like 500,000 coins as kind of a make good because of the aforementioned issues. They're like, hey, we know we're working on this thing. Here's some coins in the meantime. Go have fun. So they gave a bunch of coins and a bunch of the other currencies. So I spent a lot of time just unlocking a bunch of stuff. I have a lot of that crypt unlocked. I still have a long way to go, but I feel like, unless I know there's some areas I haven't opened yet, but I've opened up a lot of areas. And I've probably got, I feel like maybe close to half of the chest unlocked. But I'm looking forward to going in there. I think it's a genuinely fun crypt to explore, and if you take out maybe all of the currency things, like the number of them, it's easily the best crypt that they've ever done. And of course, the best thing about going in a crypt is unlocking all those cool skins, which you use for the new kind of custom character maker, which I'm having fun with. I've made a few variations of some of my favorite characters. Like I just made a Scorpion who's like wearing black and he's got some yellow trim, so he just looks, it's almost like an inverted color Scorpion. He looks really cool. I named him Hot Thang, and that's THANG, Hot Thang, and I gave him mostly kind of fireball fire attacks. Like he can throw a fireball, he can breathe fire from his skull. He does a lot of, he's a fiery dude, more so than usual. And so far, I'm having fun just going in there and customizing the looks of characters. Like, I knew as soon as they announced, I was like, oh, this is going to be a hit because MK is such a big community. Like, people like on DeviantArt or whatever making original MK characters and just their own art. Like, I was like, oh, that's a pretty smart move that I'm a little surprised they haven't tried before this. And I guess he kind of had to do Injustice 2 because Injustice 2 had a similar idea, and I guess this wouldn't happen without Injustice 2 kind of laying the foundation first. But it's cool that I can make a version of Scorpion and mix and match his special moves that kind of fit my liking and just have different loadouts of like, okay, this Scorpion has all the maybe spear melee moves, and then this Scorpion is more range focused with like fire attacks, and maybe this Scorpion is more like about being up close and personal. I think it's well done so far. I haven't spent like a ton of time with it, but I've made a Scorpion, I've made a Scarlet, I made a Katana, and I'm looking forward to going in there. Like, I want to get the rest of those skins. Like, they've got me on the skin addiction. Like, I haven't doled out any real money yet, but I'm checking that rotating store because I have enough of the time orbs to buy a couple skins as it is. And yeah, I genuinely get excited whenever I find a new outfit in the crypt. I'm like, oh, sweet. Nice. Let me try that on and mix and matching Katana's mask. My Katana is cool. Red fans with like this cool floral print or whatever it is on it. It's a cool idea. I'm liking that a lot. More than I expected to, honestly. Like I said, I've played a few online matches. I haven't played all of the modes. I've only done like the casual 101 combat. Currently, I think I'm like 2 and 3 in matches, or at least with Sonya Blade. I've won the most with Sonya. I've played maybe like 5 or 6 matches overall online, and so far it seems fine. I had a few or like a couple laggy matches, which is always hard to tell. Like, I don't know if it's me, my internet's fine, or if it's the opponent, or if it's just the game. You can never tell. I'm assuming it's not me because I know my internet's fine, so it's either the game or the opponent. So there's the blame, casting it away from myself. But for the most part, it's performed mostly fine. And I look forward to getting my ass handed to me as more people get better at the game, and then I can never go online ever again. So I'm enjoying it while it lasts. I think the last big thing I'll talk about MK, at least for this week, is Ronda Rousey as Sonya Blade. Yeah, she's not great. Which I guess isn't all that surprising as a wrestling fan. I've watched her in WWE for the last year, and while she's a fantastic wrestler, she was never very good at the promo side of it, especially scripted stuff. She's definitely someone that she's best just cutting loose and just, saying her own stuff and maybe following like a very light outline. But the moment you give a piece of paper and say, hey, read this word for word, but with feeling, it falls apart. And yeah, that's kind of what happened with Sonya. It was almost kind of distracting at times and during the story mode, and then even like in the regular combat, like just the pre-match interactions. Like she's just not good. She's just not good at all. It's a shame. God only knows how much it maybe costs to get her to do this, so it did not pay off. So that's the other kind of big downer with Mortal Kombat 11. But again, overall, I think it's a hell of a game. It's got some kinks to iron out for sure, but I'm having a really great time with it, and I will definitely be playing it for the foreseeable future. Do you guys hear something? Thunder or what? Whoa, crap! It's Raiden! He's back! Whoa, what are you doing here? Also, my carpet, again, just singed, gone. Holy crap, dude. You gotta let me know when you're gonna do that. What are you doing back here? Shouldn't you be off trying to stop time itself from unraveling?
You are correct, Marcus. I am currently dealing with Chronica. She will be stopped, rest assured. However, I couldn't help but overhear that you were talking about the latest Mortal Kombat. Tell me, how have you enjoyed playing as me?
Well, to be perfectly honest, Raiden, I actually haven't picked you yet outside of the story mode.
Is that so?
Yeah, is that a problem, or?
Earthrealm needs a protector, and that is me. Do you not care for Earthrealm's safety? Apparently not. You choose fighters on the side of evil, like Katana and that disgusting Scarlet.
I mean, they're pretty fun to use. I mean,
Have you forgotten what I did to Shinnok?
no, in fact, there's an entire stage in the game that features his head as a constant reminder.
Exactly. He is an emblem of my wrath. You would do well to keep that in mind.
So, are you just threatening me to just pick you the next time I play MK?
Use your best judgment.
Okay, yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'll keep that in mind. Yeah, okay.
Excellent. Now, if you'll excuse me, Kronika must be stopped. She has no idea what her tampering of the timeline will mean for the realms. I bid you farewell, and remember our talk.
And he's gone. And yeah, much like the last time he showed up, everything is kind of wet now. The rain has stopped. It's amazing how instantaneous that is. Yeah, he's gotten things soaked, and again, another burn mark from his little lightning entrance. Man, I probably don't want to talk too loud. He probably still hears me. Don't want to complain too much, but yeah, I think this is a good point to maybe move on. Damn it, I gotta dry everything else off now. Jesus Christ. And now, your weekly Sekiro Shadows Die Twice update. This game is still really fucking hard and I hate it. It's unfair and I can't do anything and screw General Ashina. He's the worst and he just needs to die. This has been your weekly Sekiro Shadows Die Twice update.
Gotta go fast.
And with that, listeners, we've reached the end of another episode of Marcus Talks About Games. If you want to follow me on Twitter, hit me up at MarcusStewart7. That's the number 7. Comes right after the Marcus Stewart. Just Marcus Stewart and then 7. Number 7. It's a nice number. You can also follow this show on Marcus Makes Media on YouTube, as well as Marcus Makes Media on SoundCloud, and Marcus Writes About Games on iTunes. Whatever floats your boat, and be sure to like, share, and subscribe. I very much appreciate it with all of my heart. You can also follow me on Screen Rant. I just posted a review for Cuphead, the Switch version of Cuphead that went up, and I have another review that by the time this airs, it should be up because it'll be Swords of Ditto, the Mormos Curse update, also the Switch version of that. So give them a read, will ya? I'd appreciate it. And of course, if you're into Dungeons and Dragons, you can check me out on the D&D Roleplay Shows podcast, We Wanted Adventurers, and Dragon Guard, 2 separate campaigns, both of them hysterical, both of them over the top, both of them just all sorts of ridiculous, and you can find both of those at the Best Games Period on SoundCloud, as well as iTunes, and at extralife.org. We just had a few new episodes go up of Dragon Guard recently, so give those a listen. Once again, I'd super appreciate it, as would my fellow D&D party members. So until next week, folks, I'm going to keep playing some Mortal Kombat 11, and then maybe stare at Sekiro and try again. But I'll definitely be playing MK11 some more. We'll talk about more of that next week, and whatever else comes into my mind. Maybe there'll be another movie trailer for a thing that I love that cinema tries to destroy. Who knows? We'll see. You'll just have to tune in next week. So until then, have a good one.
SFPD! Meow?